Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadara, Srivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Bhakti. Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna. So today we will be discussing chapter 4 of 7th canto, entitled Hiranyakashipu Terrorizes the Universe. So if you are in a position to read, please raise your hand. I can ask a few volunteers to read the text today. So, Meena Mataji, yes, if you can kindly read the first 4 verses. First 4 verses, and then we will also read a little more. Yeah, please.
Oh, thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Narad Muni continued. Lord Brahma was very much satisfied by Hiranyakashipu's austerities, which were difficult to perform. Therefore, when solicited for benedictions, he indeed granted them, although they were rarely to be achieved. Lord Brahma said, O Hiranyakashipu, these benedictions for which you have asked are difficult to obtain for most men. Nonetheless, O my son, I shall grant you them, although, just give me one moment. Although they are generally not available. Text 3. Then Lord Brahma, who awards infallible benedictions, departed. Being worshipped by the best of the demons, Hiranyakashipu was being worshipped by the best of the demons, Hiranyakashipu, and being praised by great sages and saintly persons. Text 4. The demon Hiranyakashipu, having thus been blessed by Lord Brahma, and having acquired a lustrous golden body, continued to remember the death of his brother, and therefore be envious of Lord Vishnu. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, so please, Mataji, just wait there, and I'll request you to read a few more verses. Yeah, so this is a continuation from the previous chapter. In the previous chapter, we had seen that Hiranyakashipu went to the valley of Mandarachal, and wherein he had executed severe austerities and penances to become immortal. So he worshipped Lord Brahma. So eventually Lord Brahma came there. Of course, during when he was performing severe austerities, fire emanated from his head. So the whole universe was so hot because of this fire. Living entities all over the universe were suffering because of this excessive heat. All the demigods, seeing this condition, went to Lord Brahma and informed the intentions of Hiranyakashipu. Although Lord Brahma knew the intentions, but demigods informed. So Lord Brahma, along with his associates, went to the place where Hiranyakashipu was performing austerities in the valley of Mandara mountain. Initially, could not find him because his body was eaten up by the moths and other creatures. But eventually, Hiranyakashipu that time was he was maintaining the life air within the bones, within the skeleton, with his severe austerities. And Lord Brahma, with special water from his kamandalu, he sprinkled on the skeleton of Hiranyakashipu, and thereby actually Hiranyakashipu received a very lustrous and youthful golden body. And so Brahma asked Hiranyakashipu to ask for a boon. Um, and so he asked for so many things, like he knew that Brahma would not grant him a boon wherein he become immortal, but he just asked that let me not meet death by any living entities created by you, inside the residence, outside the residence, on the ground, in the sky, uh, um, like this, and not with any weapons, not by any demon, demigod, snakes, humans, animals. So like this, Hiranyakashipu asked in the previous chapter. So in this chapter, we see that Narada Muni, as we all know, Narada Muni is explaining this story to Yudhishthir Maharaj during the Rajasuya sacrifice. So Narada Muni continued, yes, Lord Brahma was very satisfied by Hiranyakashipu austerities, which were extremely difficult. He stood on his toes on one leg and looking at the sky like that for several, thousands of years. So Lord Brahma was, is happy. He said, these boons you've asked for are difficult to obtain. Nonetheless, my audience will not go in vain. I shall grant them to you. So, Hiranyakashipu. Yeah, so then, he awarded the boons. He left that place. Lord Brahma left that place. And Hiranyakashipu receiving these boons and acquiring a lustrous golden body, he remembered the death of his brother and therefore be envious of Lord Vishnu. So, although he performed severe austerities, he received the boons, but he could not control his mind and his own senses. Mind is the sixth sense. Mind controls all other senses, isn't it? If mind focus on any one of the senses, and that's it, we have to do that job. So he could not, although he underwent severe austerities, he could not control his mind and thereby his own senses. That's why, although he was very, very powerful, he was still, not peaceful. Mm. Prabhupada writes in the purport to text 4 that a demonic person, in spite of acquiring all opulences possible to obtain in this universe, continues to be envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he was envious of Lord Vishnu. That is his nature. Okay, so Meena Mataji, please continue reading from text 5 till 15.
Hiranyakashipu became the conqueror of the entire universe. Indeed, that great demon conquered all the planets in the three worlds, upper, middle, and lower, including the planets of the human beings, the Gandharvas, the Garudas, the great serpents, the Siddhas, Charanas, Charanas, and Vidyadharas, the great saints Yamraj, the Manus, the Yakshas, the Rakshasas, the Pisachas and their masters, and the masters of the ghosts and bhutas. He defeated the rulers of all the other planets where there are living entities and brought them under his control. Conquering the abodes of all, he seized their power and influence. Text 8. Hiranyakashipu, who possessed all opulence, began residing in heaven with its famous Nandana garden, which is enjoyed by the demigods. In fact, he resided in the most opulent palace of Indra, the king of heaven. The palace had been directly constructed by the demigod architect Vishwakarma and was as beautifully made as if the goddess of fortune of the entire universe resided there. Text 9 to 12. The steps of King Indra's residence were made of coral. The floor was bedecked with invaluable emeralds. The walls were of crystal, and the columns of Vaidurya stone. The wonderful canopies were beautifully decorated. The seats were bedecked with rubies, and the silk bedding, as white as foam, was decorated with pearls. The ladies of the palace, who were blessed with beautiful teeth and most wonderfully beautiful faces, walked here and there in the palace, the ankle bells tinkling melodiously, and saw their own beautiful reflection in the gems. The demigods, however, being very much oppressed, had to bow down and offer obeisances at the feet of Hiranyakashipu, who chastised the demigods very severely for no. Prabhuji, can you please scroll up a little bit?
Yeah.
For no reason. Thus, Hiranyakashipu lived in the palace and severely ruled everyone. Text 13. O my dear king, Hiranyakashipu was always drunk on strong smelling wines and liquors, and therefore his coppery eyes were always rolling. Nonetheless, because he had powerfully executed great austerities in mystic yoga, although he was abominable, all but the three principal demigods, Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and Lord Vishnu, personally worshipped him to please him by bringing him various presentations with their own hands. Text 14. O Maharaj Yudhishthira, descendant of Pandu, by dint of his personal power, Hiranyakashipu, being situated on the throne of King Indra, controlled the inhabitants of all the other planets. The two Gandharvas, Vishwavasu and Tumburu, I myself, and the Vidyadharas, Apsaras, and sages all offered prayers to him again and again to glorify him. Text 15. Being worshipped by sacrifices offered with great gifts by those who strictly followed the principles of Varna and Ashram, Hiranyakashipu, instead of offering shares of the oblations to the demigods, accepted them himself. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
So in this section, we see that how Hiranyakashipu had conquered all the 10 directions. What are the 10 directions? You have 4 directions, and then you have 4 corners. So that becomes 8. And, upper and the lower direction, that becomes 10. So Hiranyakashipu conquered all the 10 directions. So, it is mentioned here various planets, like there are planets for Garudas. Garudas means that's where great birds live. And there was great singers, great serpents, Siddhas. There are different planets for different beings. and even he conquered, looks like Yamaraj. Mm? Um, uh, so he became, apart from Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, Vishnu, everyone in the universe is under his control. Mm? Um, so he started residing in the heaven. Um, and heaven is a beautiful place, described here, as described here. Uh, but in heaven, usually the demigods live, but now uh, they are in fear of Hiranyakashipu. Prabhupada writes now and then in these purports that people aim to go to heaven, but even the demigods, you know, undergo misery time to time. Um, and he also mentions people sometimes worship demigods, but even the demigods are undergoing, suffering um, time to time. So, what is the use of such worship? Um, so we will see that, being terrorized by Hiranyakashipu, all these demigods, they take shelter of Lord Vishnu. So Prabhupada writes many times in the purports that, why do you, mm, why do people exclusively worship demigods instead of Lord Vishnu? Because when they are in trouble, they are going to Lord Vishnu. So why can't you worship directly Lord Vishnu? So Prabhupada writes that. So yeah, the beauty of heaven is described here. Um, Vishwakarma is the engineer of architect of demigods. The buildings are built by him. Uh, so it is mentioned, it is as beautifully made as if goddess of fortune resided there. So that's how beautifully made. Um, yeah, the floor was bedecked with invaluable, gems. The walls were of crystal. Vaiduria, there's a special stone, wonderful canopies. Yeah, um, and the silk bedding as white as foam. Um, and the ladies were described here. They need not to go to any dentist for beautification. They are blessed with beautiful teeth. It is mentioned here. Um, uh, However, the demigods, being very much oppressed, suppressed, so they had to bow down to Hiranyakashipu and offer obeisances at the feet of Hiranyakashipu. Hiranyakashipu used to chastise them for no reason. They were severely chastised. Mm. Um, and Hiranyakashipu, he used to drink a lot, and on drunk and strong smelling wines and liquors. Uh, um, because he had powerfully executed great austerities in mystic yoga, he could still maintain his posture, like, calm, steadiness. Uh, um, yeah. So it is said that the two Gandharvas, they're known for their singing. Mm. Um, so Vishwa Vasu and Tumburu, these are famous Gandharvas, the very good singers. They were under control of Hiranyakashipu. Uh, Not only these two Gandharvas, Vishwavasu and Tumburu, like, you need some entertainment, right? So they used to sing melodious songs and entertain Hiranyakashipu. Not only them, but Narad says, I myself was under his control. So Prabhupada writes, being, great devotee, sometimes, situations are like that. A devotee comes under control of a demon for time being. It's not forever, but a short time. Hmm? And apsarasas, they are there. They all used to dance and offered prayers to him and glorify him like that. Hmm? Um, so, and when the uh, when people worshipped him through the sacrifices, he was taking everything. He was not distributing the share of oblations to various demigods at all. That's how the demigods gets nourished when yajna or sacrifice is performed. So they get, when the people offer oblations into the fire, they get nourished. But all these were taken by Hiranyakashipu and not distributing any of the shares to any of the demigods. Mm. So next, we see that he used to control the nature. Mm. Say, for example, a planet Earth used to produce food grains without being plowed. Just like in the heavenly planet, there is a Kamadhenu, Surabhi cows. So it gives whatever you want. Similarly, Earth used to produce whatever Hiranyakashipu wants. Food grains were automatically produced without being plowed. And the cows supplied abundant milk, and the outer space was beautifully decorated with wonderful phenomena. The oceans and rivers, they gave him gems and jewels for his pleasure. And what else? The plants and trees, they produced fruits and flowers profusely in all seasons. So usually in some seasons, you will get some fruits and some flowers. But under the administration of Hiranyakashipu, all the plants and trees, they used to give flowers and fruits in all seasons. And he was basically, controlling the various departments, like, department controlled by Indra, rain, Vayu controls air, wind, Agni controls the fire. So rather them, like, he was doing their job also without their help. So he became such a powerful person. So it is said, like, it is always spring season in his, courtyard. So yeah, even the demigod controls the season is afraid of him. Everything was just right for him all the times. But yet, was he happy? In spite of achieving the power to control in all directions, in spite of having all these types of sense gratification, he was dissatisfied. He was dissatisfied. Why he was dissatisfied? He couldn't control his own son. So Prabhupada writes in the purport that this is an example of asric life. Atheists can advance materially and create an extremely comfortable situation for the senses. So there is more pleasure, like, more comfortable situation for senses in Western countries, but are they fully happy? No. Like that. There may be more comforts in the Western countries, even like, in other places, but, one is not fully, satisfied yet. So Hiranyakashipu was also dissatisfied. Only a devotee will be satisfied in all the situations. Just like you see his own son, little boy, Prahalad, and he was not controlling all the directions. Yes, he was not controlling all the demigods. Yet, in spite of being tortured by his father, Hiranyakashipu, he was still peaceful. Here, nobody is torturing Hiranyakashipu. He is actually torturing everyone. He is actually controlling everyone, but he himself was dissatisfied. Whereas, even though Prahlad was tortured by his father, he was still peaceful because of taking shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord. So, a devotee, by taking shelter, by having that immense faith on the lotus feet of the Lord, will be happy, otherwise not. Okay, so let's go to the next section. Jisha Mataji.
Prabhuji,
Yes.
I have a question.
Sure.
So Prabhuji here said towards the end of the 15th verse, or 14th was it, that all the demigods were afraid of Hiranyakashipu and they had to, worship him and whatever. But Shiva, Brahma, and Vishnu, they were also doing things to make him happy. Something on those lines, I think it said.
No. Apart from those principal demigods, everyone else is under his control. That is
And
what
mentioned. And what was written about Brahma, Vishnu, and
that is what mentioned. That's what mentioned. Apart from those, say for example,
okay,
apart from them.
Okay. Another thing, when he did such severe austerities, he did all of that. Of course, he did that for a reason. He had ulterior motives, so that's why he did it. But having said so, even after doing so much austerities, why was he not purified? Of course, it's
we discussed this. We discussed this in the last chapter. You are not there, I guess, right? You are not there in the last chapter.
Last Thursday,
okay.
I wasn't there. Yeah.
Who would like to answer from? That's a very good question. We discussed this. Anybody would like to answer this question? Why was he not purified?
Can I have a go?
Please.
I think it was because it was Krishna's plan that Hiranyakashi that he came down because he was Jaya Vijaya. I don't know exactly which, and so he actually remained in Krishna consciousness through his anger, and that was his association, I think, with Krishna, even through all the things he was carrying out. So in the end, he would go back to him. That's my attempt in my
Yeah, that is absolutely right. That is but there is another reason, external reason that we discussed in the last chapter. The other reason was that, Mataji, if he had worshipped Lord Vishnu, his heart was like, he was definitely be purified. Here he worshipped worshipped Lord Brahma.
Brahma, yeah.
Right. Yeah. So Mataji is mentioned, like, of course, they actually, there was a purpose in his, like, he felt, Yeah, it was an arrangement by the Lord that he had to come and take birth as a
Yes.
demon, and
Yes.
so that give Lord Vishnu a nice fight in the battle.
Yeah.
That is the reason. That is internal reason. But
Yeah.
the external reason is that he had an ulterior motive, and
Mm.
he worshipped Lord Brahma.
Brahma. Mhm.
But scriptures tell us that if one worships Lord Vishnu for any reason,
Mm.
he will be purified.
Right.
So you remember the story of Diti also. Many times we discussed Diti and Indra.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Diti had had an
Yeah.
intention to have a son to kill Indra
Right. She got purified.
after 1 year worshipping Lord Vishnu. So Lord
Yeah.
Vishnu will steal Chauragraganyam Purusham Namami.
Yeah.
He not only steals butter, milk, yogurt, but he will steal away that our demonic tendency also.
Yeah.
Mm, mm. So yes, that's a good question.
Thank you, Prabhuji, and thank you, Hamsani, Divya Mataji.
Thank you. Right. Let's go back and read from text. Text 20 till 29. Jisha Mataji, please.
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Second. I don't know, something popped out. One line is actually, I can't see the first line. Sorry. Sorry, can you just bring it down a bit, Prabhuji?
Can you not see?
Is it from 20 or 19,
Yeah,
Prabhuji?
20, please.
20. Okay, I can see, yeah. Hiranyakashipu thus passed a long time being very much proud of his opulences and transgressing the laws and regulations mentioned in the authoritative Shastras. He was therefore subjected to a curse by the 4 Kumaras, who were great Brahmanas. Everyone, including the rulers of the various planets, was extremely distressed because of the severe punishment inflicted upon them by Hiranyakashipu. Fearful and disturbed, unable to find any other shelter, they at last surrendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu. 22 and 23. Let's offer our respectful obeisances unto that direction where the Supreme Personality of Godhead is situated, where those purified souls in the renounced order of life, the great saintly persons, go, and from which, having gone, they never return. Without sleep, fully controlling their minds and living on only their breath, the predominating deities of the various planets began worshipping Rishikesha with this meditation. Then there appeared before them a transcendental sound vibration emanating from a personality not visible to material eyes. The voice was as grave as the sound of a cloud, and it was very encouraging, driving away all fear. Text 25 and 26. The voice of the Lord vibrated as follows: O best of learned persons, do not fear. I wish all good fortune to you. Become my devotees by hearing and chanting about me and offering me prayers, for these are certainly meant to award benedictions to all living entities. I know all about the activities of Hiranyakashipu and shall surely stop them very soon. Please wait patiently until that time. Text 27. When one is envious of the demigods who represent the Supreme Personality of Godhead of the Vedas, which give all knowledge of the cows, Brahmanas, Vaishnavas, and religious principles, and ultimately of me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he and his civilization will be vanquished without delay. Text 28. When Hiranyakashipu teases the great devotee Prahlada, his own son, who is peaceful and sober and who has no enemy. I shall kill Hiranyakashipu immediately despite the benedictions of Brahma. Text 29. The great saint Narada Muni continued, when the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the spiritual master of everyone, thus reassured all the demigods living in the heavenly planets, they offered their respectful obeisances unto him and returned, confident that the demon Hiranyakashipu was now practically dead.
Right. So they are now happy. So so the demigods now, where did they go? They went to Lord Vishnu. Many times we see this, right? You know, when Rudrasura attacked all the demigods in the battle, they could not defeat him. They ran away. They fled from the battlefield. And they don't know what to do. That time also they approached Lord Vishnu. They offered prayers, and Lord Vishnu gave them a suggestion, a solution. What did he say that time? Lord Vishnu, anybody remembers? Lord Vishnu asked them to go where? To Dadichi, sage Dadichi, and ask for his bones. Means, yes, Dadichi had to give up his body and the bones will be used to make this thunderbolt weapon. So here also they went. This is where Prabhupada says in this purport only that even the demigods or worshipping Lord Vishnu, why don't you directly worship? Let me see if I can share this. From here I'll read. Therefore, all the inhabitants of various planets, being unable to find any other shelter, were obliged to seek shelter at the lotus feet of the Supreme Friend. If from the very beginning we seek shelter of the Supreme Friend, there will be no cause of danger. It is said that if a dog is swimming in the water and one wants to cross the ocean by catching hold of dog's tail, certainly is foolish. Similarly, if in distress one seeks shelter of a demigod, he is foolish, for his efforts will be fruitless. In all circumstances, one should seek shelter of Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then there will be no danger under any circumstances. So, inhabitants of various planets went there. So, this is one point to always remember, that taking shelter of the Lord. And sometimes the devotees immediately ask, but I am not getting any answer. Or my problem is not being resolved. So here we can see that is also mentioned. What is the answer for that? When we worship the Supreme Lord, when there is a problem, it may not disappear quickly. It might take some time. Why is that, and what should we do? I was asked by Lalita Preeti to ask some questions to keep everyone active. Hope you are able to hear me.
The questions are really helpful, actually. I wish I was intelligent enough to ask them. They are brilliant. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Mataji. So, when demigods worshipped Lord Vishnu spoke, but it was in the form of sound. Yes, there was no personal form appeared before them. Even when all the demigods were being tortured by Kamsa, and Mother Earth was overburdened by demonic people like Kamsa. She had taken the form of cow. They all approached Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma, along with demigods and Lord Shiva, went to the shore of the ocean. They offered prayers. And again, Lord Vishnu spoke to Brahma, revealed the information within the heart of Lord Brahma, and Lord Brahma conveyed that message to demigods. So, what did Lord Vishnu tell the demigods here? Who is able to? Okay, so what was the question? Yeah, so our question will be answered here. What did Lord Vishnu inform the demigods when they worshipped Lord Vishnu? What did he say?
To be patient. He was already aware of it and he would resolve the situation. They were to go back, and in my head, it would be continue praying as they do to Vishnu.
Excellent. You got it. So patience is required. So to my question, the answer was patience. When I asked why can't it be resolved quicker? Lord, yes, He is purifying us. We have to develop some patience, some tolerance. Gajendra fought with crocodile for thousands of years. And did Lord Vishnu came there to rescue within a few seconds? No. He fought. He says 100 years of demigod, something like that. But while fighting, because the Lord was not coming for his rescue, did he stop praying? No. If he was fighting, at the same time praying. So Krishna also says this to Arjuna in the Gita. Mam anusmara yudhyacha. Yudhyacha means you do your duty as a warrior, fight on the battlefield. But while doing your duty, you must remember me. So Gajendra was doing that. He was fighting with the crocodile, at the same time praying. Lord took some time to come there. So we should also hear the demigods. He said, yes, continue to pray, continue to glorify, continue to chant, and have patience. And he is aware of the situation. He will rectify the matter soon. And these are some of the wonderful Prabhupada writes also in the purport that chanting, hearing about the Lord, discussing the topics of the Lord means you are seeing the Lord. There is no need to see physically. Prabhupada writes in the purport. So these are some of the wonderful instructions that we should follow. So in the association of devotees, we continue hear and glorify the Lord and depend on God's mercy. And also do our duty. We should also do our duty to help resolve, if we can, whether we are able to, we should also try and resolve, but also we depend on the Lord. Our endeavor should also be there. Yeah. Okay, so, and, after hearing from the Lord, they were very happy And they just thought that yes, Lord Vishnu said, he would kill Hiranyakashipu. When would he kill? What time?
Was it when he offended his great devotee?
When he offends, when he tortures his son Prahalad Maharaj, Vishnu said, I will kill him. Yeah, keeping the boons given by Brahma intact. Yes, because they were tricky, isn't it? Like now, no, there is no way to kill him. Yeah, no human, no demigod, no animal, no weapon, not in the daytime, not in the nighttime, not inside, not outside, none of the being created by Lord Brahma. Like there were so many conditions, keeping all the conditions intact. Lord Brahma said he would, Lord Vishnu said he would kill him. Lakshman Prabhu.
Question, Lord Krishna, he has a power, and if you want to really kill him, you can kill him anytime. And why he needs to wait? Break those rules. Whatever rules he got, but if he decides to kill him, he can kill anyway.
Yeah. So your so voice was not so clear, but if I understand correctly, Lord Vishnu can kill him at any time in any manner. There is no need to meet the conditions, if I understand correctly. But Lord Lord Vishnu can kill, um, keeping the conditions of Lord Brahma intact, because you would respect those conditions, right? It's a sensitivity, because when Lord Brahma said, he's one of the main administrators of this universe. So, and he's also serving Lord Vishnu. So when Lord Brahma speaks something, he would respect that. So that's why he will keep the promise intact. So that's why he had to take a separate form, and he has to, it's a combined hybrid form of human and man. And of course, he was not created by Lord Brahma, and he used his nails as weapons, like that. So he kept the conditions intact. He will respect those conditions. Yeah, it's important. And what else? Yeah. So Prabhupada writes in the purports, in these purports, to a greater extent, that offending devotee will, will destroy everything. Prabhupada writes, Prahalad Maharaj was a very great devotee, advanced devotee. We will see some of his qualities that are given, that are narrated by Narada Muni to Yudhishthir Maharaj. So Prabhupada mentioned time and again that one has to be very careful. So let's read this beautiful purport. It's important we read it. Lakshman, and I'll read it because your voice is. Okay. Of all sinful activities, an offense to a pure devotee or a Vaishnava is most severe. An offense at the lotus feet of Vaishnava is so disastrous that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has compared it to a mad elephant that enters a garden and causes great havoc by uprooting many plants and trees. If one is an offender at the lotus feet of a Brahmana or a Vaishnava, his offense uproot all auspicious activities. One should therefore very carefully guard against committing Vaishnava Aparada or offense at the lotus feet of a Vaishnava. Here the Lord clearly says that although Hiranyakashipu had received benedictions from Lord Brahma, these benedictions would be null and void as soon as he committed an offense at the lotus feet of Prahlad Maharaj, his own son. A Vaishnava like Prahlad Maharaj is described herein as Nirvairaha, having no enemies. Elsewhere in Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said, Ajata Shatravaha, Shantaha, Sadava, Sadhubhushanaha. A devotee has no enemies. He is peaceful, he abides by the scriptures, and all his characteristics are sublime. A devotee does not create enmity with anyone. But if someone becomes his enemy, that person will be vanquished by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Despite whatever benedictions he may have received from the other sources, Hiranyakashipu was certainly enjoying the fruitful results of his austerities. But here the Lord says that as soon as he committed an offense at the lotus feet of Prahlad Maharaj, he would be ruined. One's longevity, opulence, beauty, education, and whatever else one may possess as a result of pious activities cannot protect one if one commits an offense at the lotus feet of a Vaishnava. Despite whatever one possesses, if one offends the lotus feet of Vaishnava, he will be vanquished. My goodness, that purport is very, very detailed, very nicely explained. Okay, so now we'll move on and read some of the qualities of Prahlad Maharaj. Sorry, we are running a little late, but we'll finish. This section is beautiful, so let's read. Anyone would like to volunteer? From 30 till 43, I think.
I will read, Prabhuji.
Yeah, thank you.
Hiranyakashipu had 4 wonderful, well-qualified sons, of whom the one named Prahlada was the best. Indeed, Prahlada was a reservoir of all transcendental qualities because he was an unalloyed devotee of the personality of Godhead. The qualities of Maharaja Prahlada, the son of Hiranyakashipu, are described herewith. He was completely cultured as a qualified Brahmana, having very good character and being determined to understand the absolute truth. He had full control of his senses and mind. Like the super soul, he was kind to every living entity and was the best friend of everyone. To respectable persons, he acted exactly like a menial servant. To the poor, he was like a father. To his equals, he was attached like a sympathetic brother, and he considered his teachers, spiritual masters, and older god brothers to be as good as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He was completely free from unnatural pride that might have arisen from his good education, riches, beauty, aristocracy, and so on. Although Prahlad Maharaj was born in a family of Asuras, he himself was not an Asura, but a great devotee of Lord Vishnu. Unlike the other Asuras, he was never envious of Vaishnavas. He was not agitated when put into danger, and he was neither directly or indirectly interested in the fruitive activities described in the Vedas. Indeed, he considered everything material to be useless, and therefore he was completely devoid of material desires. He always controlled his senses and life, air, and being of steady intelligence and determination, he subdued all lusty desires.
Yeah, just 1 second, Mataji. So here, Prabhupada says here to this purport that devotee demon doesn't depend on the birth. So although he was born in the family of demons, he was a great devotee. So it depends on the character. By birth, you cannot determine something. So uh, whether whether one is born in England or in India or wherever, in a Brahmana family or in other great family, it doesn't matter. You have to demonstrate your qualities. You should possess as good qualities. So this is what Prabhupada mentions here. Okay, please carry on.
O King, Prahlada Maharaj's good qualities are still glorified by learned saints and Vaishnavas. As all good qualities are always found existing in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they also exist forever in his devotee Prahlad Maharaj. In any assembly where there are discourses about saints and devotees, O King Yudhishthira, even the enemies of the demons, namely the demigods, what to speak of you, would cite Prahlad Maharaj as an example of a great devotee. Who could list the innumerable transcendental qualities of Prahlad Maharaja? He had unflinching faith in Vasudeva, Lord Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, and unalloyed devotion to him. His attachment to Lord Krishna was natural because of his previous devotional service. Although his good qualities cannot be enumerated, they prove that he was a great soul, Mahatma. From the very beginning of his childhood, Prahlad Maharaj was uninterested in childish playthings. Indeed, he gave them up altogether and remained silent and dull, being fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness. Since his mind was always affected by Krishna consciousness, he could not understand how the world goes on being fully absorbed in the activities of sense gratification. Prahlad Maharaj was always absorbed in the thought of Krishna. Thus, being always embraced by the Lord, he did not know how his bodily necessities, such as sitting, walking, eating, lying down, drinking, and talking, were being automatically performed. Because of advancement in Krishna consciousness, he sometimes cried, sometimes laughed, sometimes expressed jubilation, and sometimes sang loudly. Sometimes, upon seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Prahlad Maharaj would loudly call in full anxiety. He sometimes lost his shyness in jubilation and began dancing in ecstasy, and sometimes being fully absorbed in thoughts of Krishna, he felt oneness and imitated the pastimes of the Lord. Sometimes feeling the touch of the Lord's lotus hands, he became spiritually jubilant and remained silent, his hair standing on end and tears gliding down from his half-closed eyes because of his love for the Lord. Because of his association with perfect, unalloyed devotees who had nothing to do with anything material, Prahlada Maharaja constantly engaged in the service of the Lord's lotus feet. By seeing his bodily features when he was in perfect ecstasy, persons very poor in spiritual understanding became purified. In other words, Prahlad Maharaj bestowed upon them transcendental bliss. My dear King Yudhishthira, the demon Hiranyakashipu tormented this exalted, fortunate devotee, although Prahlad was his own son.
Thank you. We'll stop there. So, some of the wonderful qualities of Prahlad Maharaj mentioned here by Narada Muni. Of course, Narada Muni was his guru. We all know that when he was in the womb of his mother, Kayadu, Narada Muni took her away to his ashram in Vrindavan. And so he taught spiritual science to his mother, and Prahlad actually heard everything. Being in the womb of his mother, he heard and he remembered everything. So Narada Muni was describing some of these wonderful qualities. Prabhupada writes some of these qualities devotees should possess some of these qualities. Mm? Um, how gentle he was. He was seeing a super soul everywhere. He was treating every living entity as a friend, and he was serving the seniors, and no pride. Because he got all the opulences. He was beautiful, very wealthy, highly educated, like that. Although all opulences, he was surrounded by all the opulences, yet he was humble. That means we should understand that he's been blessed by the Lord. So, and some of these symptoms, crying and laughing, all these symptoms, they suggest that he was on the stage of bhava and prema. These are the highest stages in the devotional service, beginning from. So initially, we should have shraddha. There are 8 stages: sadhu sangha, bhajana kriya, associating with the devotees. You have faith, you associate with devotees, and while you are doing devotion, there is that is called bhajana kriya. And then anartha nivrutti, so art will be purified, nishta, like that. Bhava and prema are the highest, so he was on that stage. So it is mentioned like Hiranyakashipu tormented this exalted, fortunate devotee. Although Prahlad was his own son, then Yudhishthir, he was narrating this story to Yudhishthir. Yudhishthir asked, question again. How is it that, usually if parents, sometimes they punish, but they punish out of love to correct their children. But here, this guy is completely, um, tormented Prahlad Maharaj and tried to kill. So how is that? I'm eager to know more details about this. I've never heard such a contradiction as an affectionate father punishing his noble son with an intention to kill him. So, and Yudhishthir Maharaj asking Narada Muni to kindly, eradicate his doubts in this regard. So that's how this chapter ends. So in this chapter, Brahma granted the boons requested by Hiranyakashipu. After gaining those boons, Hiranyakashipu became very powerful and he conquered all the 10 directions and occupied the throne of Indra in the heaven. And all the demigods were serving him. And he was accepting all the oblations offered in the sacrifice, not distributing any shares to any demigods. And he could control the material nature. The motherland was producing all the grains without plowing. Cows were giving abundant milk. Oceans were giving jewels, etc. And trees and plants, they were producing fruits and flowers in all seasons. It was always spring in the courtyard of Hiranyakashipu. So he could, control everything like that. And so, but however, he was not fully satisfied. So seeing this situation by Hiranyakashipu, demigods offered prayers to Lord Vishnu. Lord Vishnu, informed them that in due course, when he tortures his son Prahlad, that he would kill Hiranyakashipu. And ask them to be patient and continue to chant and hear and glorify the Supreme Lord. And later in the chapter, Narada Muni describes the qualities of Prahlad Maharaj, and the chapter ends, Yudhishthir Maharaj asking Hiranyakashipu, explaining, to explain how come his own father tried to kill his noble son. So this was asked by Yudhishthir Maharaj. So that will be further discussed in the next chapter. So with that, we will end our session tonight. thank you so much for being with us tonight. Hari Hari, Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaura Premanandi, Hari
Hare
Hari.
Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna, Hari Bol, Hari Bol.